Sophie, you pretty girl, come here. Let's talk ulcers in horses and use Sophie as my example. So if you've heard me talk about Sophie, you know that we are treating her for ulcers right now. We didn't have her scoped, but when we did chiropractic work and just kind of from evidence with her body condition and her coat and her attitude, we heavily suspected ulcers. So a horse having ulcers is similar to a human having acid reflux. So essentially it's when that stomach acid meets the lining of their stomach and it creates these sores, and it can be really uncomfortable for them. It can cause their body condition to go down. It can cause really bad attitude changes. It can cause colic, all kinds of things. So originally when Sophie came to me, I was like, okay, she had a baby that drug her down. She had a couple of things that I wanted to change with her diet and her feet, and we did that, and things just weren't changing very quickly. And so that's when we really started treating her for ulcers. So ulcers can be brought on by a multitude of things, a big one being stress, which again, from horse showing, from hauling to new places, from like a stressful environment, like there's a lot of stress on her body from that baby taking all the nutrients from her. It can also be caused, and I'm not saying this was the cause for Sophie, I'm just saying they can be caused by a high grain diet without a lot of forage. So if you're not feeding a lot of hay. It can also be caused if your horse is taking a lot of NSAIDs, some medication that's harsh on their stomach. So anytime we are giving our horses bute for longer than a couple of days, or Previcox, or any type of like pain relief or anti-inflammatory, we pair it with ulcer preventative medicine because we know it's hard on their stomach. So very similar to humans. Literally, if a horse comes to me, like my horse, a border horse, whatever, and they are not gaining weight and their body condition looks poor and their coat isn't shiny, immediately I'm like, ulcers. And that's not always the case, but really often it is. And so one thing that we like to do with ours when we're weaning, when we're traveling, when we're at a horse show, when we're in the midst of breeding season, anytime that we are doing anything off of their normal daily routine, if we're doing something that might be stressful to them, we give them ulcer preventative medication. Because if you can keep your horse from getting ulcers in the first place, it is so much easier to ward them off for good. Whereas once your horse has ulcers, it really does seem like they become a little more prone to them, and you have to stay a little bit more on top of it and actually treat them for ulcers rather than ulcer prevention. So one big difference I've been seeing in Sophie over the last month, once we started treating her for ulcers, is she has gained a little bit more weight. Her dapples have started coming through, her color's a lot richer. And so we've been doing a little more intense care on that, and hopefully we can get her to a baseline and then just, add a little prevention into her diet and into her daily life. But she does seem a lot more comfortable. One thing I noticed is she's grazing a lot. When she first came to me, she wouldn't even really graze. She would just stand at the gate looking really uncomfortable. And that's one of the things. And then when they're not grazing and they're not eating their hay, their gut becomes even more unhealthy and uncomfortable, and that can cause other health problems. So that's just one thing I kind of wanted to bring light, one thing to think about. This can go for any horse. It doesn't have to be a show horse, doesn't have to be a broodmare, doesn't have to be something that's, moving places all the time. Ulcers can happen to anybody for stress reasons or medication reasons or whatever. So I just kind of wanted to bring some light to that because I don't feel like I hear a lot of people talking about it very often. And I'm not a vet. I'm not an expert. I just kind of wanted to raise the discussion about it due to the fact that I think that is one thing I see that when it's treated or prevented can really, really increase the overall health of a horse. And I feel like it's not talked about that much. So let me know if you have anything to add to this, or if you have any facts or, specific supplements or anything that you like for your horses, specifically for preventing or treating ulcers. And let's keep on following Miss Sophie, because I think in a couple months, she's going to have the glow up of a century. I really do.